when the stations are closed. So they'll begin on Wednesday. You'll think, oh, it's just Wednesday. No, they'll be held periodically over the next year. And I remember hearing about that a year or two ago, but now they're actually doing it. Then we have the NNSA plans aerial radiological survey of San Francisco area. I know most of you have already seen some of this news, but just tying it together, residents of San Francisco Bay Area could see all these low-flying helicopters operated by the agency that oversees nuclear material safety in the coming days. The Nuclear Security Administration said it plans an aerial survey between August 27th and September 1st, aimed at improving aerial radiation measurement capabilities used by local, state, federal entities. And it's interesting because they're saying improving radiation measurement capabilities, but when you go to the Department of Nuclear Engineering, University of Berkeley, California, EPA, to raise safe limits. This is actually from 2011, March. EPA is at it again. They now want to change the safe limits of exposure to humans. This is the EPA, again, this is like the police. They're there to protect you. The EPA wants to raise the protective action guides to levels vastly higher than those at which they are currently set, allowing for more radioactive contamination of the environment and the general public. So that should help you sleep better at night tonight. Something else as well, they've been conducting similar flights in the past few months in May in Baltimore. I never even heard about that. So their thing is they want to establish baselines of a normal part of security and emergency preparedness. So it's all about training, and they want to find what the natural background is. Well, if they're going to raise the natural background, they're just going out there to see how bad it really is and then say, oh, well, there you go, guys. That's the safe level. So we're talking about low-flying planes as well. A lot of creepy stuff going on, little exercises around the country, and a lot of spraying. Low-flying plane is on a mosquito mission. Remember this from July 10th. And this is the U.S. Air Force plans on Monday, as complaints continue to rise, to spray for these mosquitoes. So they're going to be spraying just 150 feet off the ground, and they're going to take another whack at the population of mosquitoes. No, at mosquitoes and people, especially people. But just remember, this is just like everything else. As the complaints continue to rise, just like in Texas where they're spraying, people don't want it. You know, Manhattan to be sprayed against West Nile virus. So one of New York's most expensive neighborhoods will be sprayed this week with pesticide to combat West Nile virus, according to officials. Now, I'm not saying there's not a mosquito problem or just a lot of more mosquitoes or ticks or fleas. I know, I could tell there is. But that doesn't justify forced spraying, force medicating people like fluoride in the water. Again, where's the vote? So that's my argument for these people. Well, you know, it is kind of bad. And, oh, well, you're not for bad teeth, are you? It's like, well, no, you're being naive, man. You're being naive because you think that you're free. You think that you have a choice. You don't have a choice. You're told what to do, what to think, and this is what's going to happen. We're going to carry eugenics out on you as the economy's breaking down more and more, and we're preparing for it. But everything's going to be okay. And the crazy thing, too, is what? Is that I just made a connection with New Jersey and Texas and that, where they have these petrochemical factories where there's a high amount of air pollution, usually correlates with this, quote, West Nile virus, which technically hasn't even been proven that it exists. So, but they're going to keep spraying. Say no to genetically modified mosquito release in Florida Keys. Again, this is another thing, releasing genetically modified mosquitoes. I think they've already done it, but they keep talking about it as if they're going to do it here in the Florida Keys. Just like everything else, even though the local community in the Florida Keys has spoken, they don't want it. We even passed an ordinance demanding more testing. This British company, Oxitec, is trying to use a loophole by applying to the FDA for an animal bug patent. And they'll probably get it because, like I said, the FDA and all of these government entities are there to fuck you over and help out these corporations, these globalists, these eugenicists. They're going to release these genetically modified mutant mosquitoes, and that should be really good for the environment. But you can go in there and sign a petition. Links will be posted. Next up, AIDS-like virus disease mysteriously appears where Merck conducted vaccine trials in Southeast Asia, specifically Thailand. An AIDS-like virus has been found in people that are not infected with HIV. Those infected have their immune systems compromised. Health officials say this is the new AIDS virus is not contagious, which begs the question, how do these people come down with the new strain of AIDS? Actually, in 1962, the U.S. Senate received a report concerning chemical and biological warfare. Just give you a background on what your government's capable of. This is the government contract where HIV-like and Ebola-like viruses were bioengineered by the U.S. military and bioweapons contracting lab Biomedics. They were producing viral cancer in monkeys that could then be used through genetic engineering to infect humans. Let's not forget they took the bird flu and then basically enhanced it so that it can be transferred to humans more easily. Robert Gallo, working with the National Cancer Institute, was part of this project. Millions of people are dying from U.S.-sponsored government projects to depopulate certain groups of people because of their ethnic heritage, and the U.S. government knew about it and endorses it. They've also worked with the Ebola virus and the plague as well. So they're trying to bring these things back. And eugenicists such as, well, not Bill Gates, he just carries it out, but people like Paul Ehrlich and that I covered recently, they say, or Mr. Bianca, the scientist down in Texas, they look forward to a nice big virus just wiping things out. And of course, the good thing is if you're the right person, you might be able to get the dose, the vaccine, right? Gates Foundation funds anti-vaccine surveillance and alert system and on-demand vaccine delivery with low-cost unmanned aerial vehicles. So this is the same guy that was just talking about how we're all going to go vegetarian because there's not going to be enough water. Part of it is going to be counteracting communication campaigns containing misinformation. That's people like myself and other people that are trying to help people to stay away from these fuckheads regarding vaccines to support global immunization efforts. So some of these anti-vaccine surveillance and alert systems include developing unmanned aerial vehicles that can be deployed by healthcare workers via cell phones to swiftly transport vaccines to rural, remember I've covered this so many times, rural locations and alleviate the last mile delivery problems. Improve cost, quality, and coverage of eugenics. Also, what the eugenicists are trying to do now is actually have it so that you could swallow a pill and it will monitor your body and tell you when you should take your dose of eugenics, your pills and your pharmaceuticals and that, your drugs. It actually tells you by order of your doctor. So you can see where this is going. Minnesota's first case of new swine flu reported. So again, another thing, right? New influenza strain that people acquire through contact with pigs, although it's not just that because I just got it a month ago here in the Midwest, is now in Minnesota. So it's moving. Then the TB continued. Drug-resistant strain of deadly disease alarms doctors worldwide August 30th. The world is in the middle of a tuberculosis pandemic, scientists say. What was once a disease of undeveloped nations has raced across continents with thousands of cases in Asia and Europe and may infect up to 2 million people by 2015. I think the biggest reason is because many of them are resistant to vaccination. Could that be because maybe it was from the vaccinations that they got it from? Like the paralysis from the vaccines that were promoted, people like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in Pakistan and that. They actually found it's called polio-derived paralysis from the vaccines. New Heartland virus discovered in sick Missouri farmers. 2 Missouri men who became severely ill after sustaining tick bites were found to be infected with a new type of virus, according to the CDC, another eugenics entity, government entity. They just want to make sure the eugenics is taking hold and to track it, to monitor it. Because the eugenicists are just, they're like obsessed with numbers and research and stuff like that so that they can enhance it and make it better. Of course, it didn't improve after antibiotics because everybody has so much antibiotics in them already from their food. The courts will soon decide if police can sample your DNA without a warrant, whether Americans have the expectation of privacy over their DNA. Again, you're a slave. We live in a scientific dictatorship. You're a research lab rat. So no, you don't have a say. So this individual, the ACLU in Northern California, is challenging a California law that requires all felony arrestees to give a DNA sample. So, they're felonies. They're criminals, right? They hurt somebody. They victimized somebody. Well, no, maybe they didn't. They don't deserve to be lab rats. They don't deserve to be put in forced labor camps. That's that mentality that I cannot stand, that naive mentality of, they're criminals. Well, okay. Well, what if you were in a bad situation? You lived in the ghetto, say in the south side of Chicago. There were no jobs. You couldn't get out. You had to support your family. You had to deal drugs. And then you get busted by some pig, right, who probably would turn around and sell it on the side himself. That's being naive. These guys are in there, most of them, for victimless crimes, and they got them stacked in there, mass incarcerations, record high numbers, for a reason, because now they're turning that into a business. The private prison industry and slave prison labor industry. So again, for those people that are naive and don't think that this is going to happen, it's already happening to babies and mothers who aren't aware that the blood and DNA is being extracted from their babies right after birth and stored in a database, and they don't know about it. See, because people have to cry about it enough to say, well, you got to opt out. Sorry, we didn't tell you. So while people are fighting the legality of police being able to basically go in there and take your DNA without a warrant, appeals court upholds gene patents August 21st, 2012. Biotechnology court finds that isolated DNA is eligible for patent protection, a victory for the biotech industry. Great. So that's what the judges are there for, right? Probably Masons or Skull and Bones or something, or some fraternal order, right? They passed it, right? So that's good. That's great. They can patent your genes. But it's good. It's good. It's going to help the disabled and stuff like that, right? For genetic screening, that will become eventually mandatory. To be able to procreate, you have to have certain genes. To be able to get a job like Gattaca, you're going to have to give a prick of blood, why I mentioned before about the carbon footprint, the carbon, which I believe the makeup is, what is it, the 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, 6 protons, the 666, your carbon footprint, your blood. You better have the right one in this brave new world. The disturbing army militia plot in Georgia. So we're talking about what? Talking about a terrorist group with active duty U.S. troops in Georgia who planned to assassinate the president and